I came across this article while doing my research, and I think the title speaks for itself. It is called The Flesh of the Voice, Embodiment and the Homoerotics of Devotion in the Music of Hildegard of Bingen. It's a pretty compelling read, with a lot of 12th century sexy talk. Throughout reading this article, I've concluded that Hildegard was quite the feminist in her time, and we can observe that in her descriptions of virginity, which are sensual and borderline erotic. So, let's take a look at a few examples. This excerpt comes from Scivias. O blessed virgins, how noble you are! You are also the sweetest garden. You emit an odor in all your embellishments. You are as red as the dawn, and you burn as the flame of the sun. Whew! Is it hot in here, or is it just me? When I think of fire and the color red, I think passion. And it's just so cool to think that she was able to apply imagery of passion to her experience as a celibate nun. And as a person who is currently practicing celibacy, I can confirm that it is a very horny existence. Another sensual quote can be found in her piece Ave Generosa. This piece can be described as an expression of intense, loving, and erotic devotion to the Virgin Mary. The first verse reads as follows. For your womb held joy when all the celestial symphonies rang out from you, because, Virgin, you carried the Son of God, whereby your chastity burned brightly in God. Your innards held joy, just as grass on which dew falls when greenness floods into it. Thus did it happen in you, O Mother of all joy. Now let all ecclesia blush in joy and sound in symphonies for the sweetest Virgin and praiseworthy Mary, Mother of God. I found this particular verse interesting for two reasons. One, because Hildegard mentions music twice. To me, this verse displays that according to Hildegard, it is music that fills the Virgin with the pleasures of devotion. The second reason I gravitated towards this quote is because of the mention of dew. During this time period, dew was a common trope for Christ's conception. So, all in all, this song is spicy as hell. Another erotic quote can be found in Hildegard's Play of Virtues. The flower of the field yields to the wind, the rain sprinkles it. O virginity, you abide in the harmonies of the celestial city. Wherefore you are a sweet flower which will never dry up. I don't know about you, but I love how Hildegard intentionally eroticized her experience as a virgin woman in the 12th century. It was a way for her to explore sensual pleasures and celebrate her femininity within the confines of the strict Christian tradition of purity culture. This probably goes without saying, but I am personally against purity culture. I think all pussies are magical and pure regardless of sexual activity. In modern day, purity culture causes things like shame and victim blaming. With all this said, I can still appreciate a 12th century woman celebrating femininity in her musical works and writing. I also wanted to mention Hildegard's quotes about virginity because they illustrate her feminist nature regardless of their modern implications. Okay. So let's talk about something a little controversial. It's possible Hildegard was running a cult. Yeah, I know. Yikes. Originally, I was going to title this podcast Hildegard of Bingen, our favorite psychic cult leader. But then I thought that was a bad idea for multiple reasons. One being that Hildegard is a saint, and I was worried that it would be too offensive. But it's an interesting theory nonetheless. So you might be asking yourself, who the fuck is this bitch to allege that Saint Hildegard was running a cult? And my answer to that is this bitch. Well, kind of. I'm not saying I know this for sure, but while doing my research, I found some things that were quite fishy. I'm not just pulling this out of my ass for the intrigue. I found evidence. There's records of strange rituals, class discrimination within the convent, and retaliation against those who left the convent. Let's start with looking at a ritual that caught my attention. According to Hildegard, virgins were not commanded to hide their beauty the same way married women were commanded to. This was not based on anything in the Bible. It was just a personal belief held by Hildegard. Because of this belief, on feast days, all of the nuns in Hildegard's convent would wear their hair down and dress up in white silk veils that touched the ground. They wore golden crowns with crosses and golden jewelry. It was abnormal at this time for nuns to dress up in this sort of way. So why did they participate in this ritual? It was to present themselves as brides of Christ. All of these nuns broke the church's modesty standards because Hildegard told them to. I don't see anything wrong with the ritual in itself, but Hildegard made up a rule without concrete religious basis, and they followed her because Hildegard was their leader and regarded as an important prophet. Another factor that I found to resemble a cult is Hildegard's unspoken preference for societal elites. Hildegard only allowed women of high status from money and power to enter her convent. If this isn't elitist, then I don't know what is. A common indicator of cults is elitism and interests in making money, and this scenario fits both of those criteria. When a group presents itself as exclusive and elitist, it's a good idea to run. My final piece of evidence is an example of Hildegard retaliating against a member of her convent for leaving. Hildegard's friend and helper Ricardus was chosen to be an abbess at a monastery in northern Germany in 1151. Hildegard tried anything in her power to prevent Ricardus from leaving, including writing many letters to her superiors within the church hierarchy. Hildegard even had the gall to claim that God did not want Ricardus to leave because she was chasing after worldly pleasures and rewards. Hildegard couldn't just be happy for her friend receiving a promotion. I think it's more possible that Hildegard was jealous and worried about her former subservient confidant surpassing her in the ranks of the church hierarchy. I think this is a good example of a human feeling hurt and jealous and reacting inappropriately. Yes, even saints are imperfect people with hidden agendas. Remember how I mentioned that Hildegard's play of virtues could have been inspired by drama in her life? Well, it just so happens that Hildegard completed the play of virtues the same year that this incident happened. Hildegard perceived this act of Ricardus leaving as abandonment, and it could have inspired Hildegard to set the text of Ordo Virtutum to music. Is Ricardus represented by the character Anima, a soul tempted by earthly successes in the mortality play? It's totally possible that this event inspired her compositional process. With all this being said, is it a fair assumption that Hildegard was running a cult? She was a self-professed prophet and a leader of a convent who only admitted elite women. They participated in abnormal rituals, and she retaliated against those who left. So, I don't know. You tell me. And does it even matter since it was so long ago? And how many of these things can be attributed to normal religious life at this time? See, this is why I love reading into Hildegard. There are so many different directions you can go in, and as usual, I'll leave some reading in the description if you're interested in learning more about her. I also recommend listening to her work Play of Virtues, or also known as Ordo Virtutum. It's a composition where you can see the prophetic, mystical, creative, and theological sides of Hildegard in one concise piece of work. So I'm going to leave it there for the day. Be kind to everyone, spread light, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of the day.